And then, are you gonna join the meeting so you can put the, same one for Pam? I sent you the email.
Well, I've been working on other stuff.
Wheel on? All right.
I could maybe email it to her quick.
Yeah, you could email it to
What are
her.
we looking at?
There will be a presentation, so that's why
Well, Pam, if you're okay, I can email it to you tomorrow and we'll just talk through everything now, or do you want it now and I can email it over to you?
Well, if there's a problem with, emailing it now, tomorrow's good.
Let me just go do it quick. I'll send it over.
Okay, well, I'll call this to order and we'll get started. I would like to call to order the December 1st, 2020 Columbia Borough Council work session. Could I have a roll call, please?
Councilperson Zink,
Here.
Councilperson Kaufman,
Here.
Councilperson Williams,
Here,
Councilperson Fitzgerald, here, Councilperson Stevens,
Here.
Councilperson Littner,
Here.
Councilperson McGarden,
Here.
Mayor Lewis.
Here.
All right, no one's here for the ministerium, so please rise for a moment of silent reflection. And Todd, would you like to lead us in pledge, please?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, announcement of executive and information sessions. Excuse me, on November 24th, 2020, council held an executive session to discuss the
Airport purchase and
the
personnel.
airport purchase and a personnel matter.
Yep.
Mayor Lutz, do you have anything for us this evening?
Nothing this evening,
All right.
Could I ask about the deletions and additions? Did we,
Oh, whoops. Yep.
because I was wondering about the land bank, has that been canceled for this month?
Yes.
It's listed as
Yes.
tomorrow.
Yes, it was canceled.
Okay, thank you.
Does anyone have any additions, deletions, or reorganizations needed on the agenda? No? All right. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda as published?
So moved.
And a second.
Second,
I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, a second by Councilperson Littner to approve the agenda as published. All in favor? Aye.
aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Citizen comment, there's no citizens. Mayor, you said nothing. I don't know how I skipped all that tonight. I'm not doing good today. So bear with me here. Okay, yep, this is the workshop. This is where, it's pretty much just open discussion on things. For the first portion, I'm gonna let Mark lead this. We're gonna talk about some branding and trying to get things more consistent, and this just seems to be the natural progression with everything we've been trying to do.
So when Heather and I talked about the workshop for tonight, I did mention that one of the things that I feel is important for us as a community is to create consistency in our messaging, in our branding, and in who we are. And I kind of just, I put together just simple PowerPoint tonight, just kind of walk through some of these points and why I think it's important and why I think it's going to help us improve our image as we go forward so that we look, act, feel like a professional office. And not that we're not, I just think there's ways that we can do it better. So that was kind of the heart and spirit behind the start of this tonight. And the more I got into it, I realized I think it's just a good message for us to think about and talk about as we go forward. So why communication? Look this up today. According to the Pew Research, and there's the link to it, less than 20% of Americans trust government right now to do what's right. And if you look at that chart on the right-hand side, that's trust in the federal government, not all government, but I think it's reflective of what's happening. There's been a huge drop in Americans' perception of what government does, and are we doing it in a way that's building trust in the community. And I think it's no surprise to anybody here or anybody listening that I think that's one of the things that here in Columbia Borough we have struggled with in the past is creating an environment, us as the public leaders of this town, creating an environment where people feel like, okay, you know what, trust is coming back, and we do have the ability to rebuild that trust here in our community and what we do. And so what's the number way to improve trust is improving our communication. The way that we communicate, how we communicate, do we communicate consistently? Are we controlling the message, or are we letting others out there control the message that we send? Not to take us all back to school, but I think it's important to talk about what is good communication when we go forward. So communication has three main parts, right? You have the person communicating, the sender. You have the message they're trying to communicate, and you have the receiver. And I've always loved this chart, and I've used it a lot, that in terms of verbal communication, just the verbal side of it, only 7% is the word you actually use. The other is 55% of it is body language, 38% of it is the voice and the tone that we use. And there's so many good examples of this out there of how you can say something and it be interpreted in so many different ways. But I think if you just go on social media and you listen to the news today, there's just so many examples of somebody saying something and they go, oh, that's not really what I meant. What I meant was, and the communication has been misconstrued, mistaken, twisted, turned, or used in a different way. In all fairness, we've seen it here. We've seen it in this room. We've seen how communication can be so important in how we do our business and how we get things done. And I just want to, I look at things from the positive side. I look at how we can do better. And so I'm bringing this whole thing again to say that I think we as the leaders here in this community, we as the team that does so much to drive the attitudes, the atmosphere in this town, I think we need to be leading and setting the example of how we communicate and how we get these things across. How we talk to residents when they come into the lobby. How we deal with residents when we're out doing an inspection. How we talk to someone who's going through a difficult time. I can't tell you the number of times I end up getting called up to the lobby because somebody is angry and upset over something. And having to take time to listen, not having to, but taking time to listen to them and hearing their story and hearing what's going on and seeing if we can come to a solution that will solve that issue. Absolutely mission critical for who we are as a borough and what we do as our quote unquote business here in town. So just to give you an idea of what we're dealing with, and I had to write all this down because it's easy just to think about, but when you look at it, that's what we're managing right there. That's probably not even all of it. I'm sure Todd has 10 more things he can add to this list. Any of you guys could. But it used to be back in, years and years ago, we had what you put in the letter, what you said in the meeting, and what you know, got published in the newspaper were the three main things you had to deal with, right? And now we have phone calls, conference calls. Who isn't totally burned out on Zoom meetings? And and you see all the funny Facebook posts of silly things that happen during Zoom meetings where, you know, a cat walks in or a child goes screaming into the background or something happens. But all of that affects how we communicate. Facebook Live has changed communications now. Years ago when I was at East Hempfield, we talked about live streaming our meetings, and there's just no way we were going to go there. That seems crazy. Now it's hard to find a municipality that does it. You know, it's commonplace now. We want to be out there. We want to be exposed. Watching Eric on videos climbing out of leaf piles. News reports. News reports of, when's the last time you saw a news report that did not contain footage from some personal cell phone? You know, people are watching all the time, looking. Our written communication, emails, letters, newsletters, notices, that text messages that we send, group texts that we send, fax, Facebook, websites, newspaper, media, signs, billboards, keep going. All of these things are ways that we as this borough communicate. And then you look at that list and I start thinking, how are we truly managing our message comprehensively so that we are sending out in a common voice and a common tone the information? And even with all of these plethora of ways to communicate, I feel like we're still missing people. Heather and I were talking this morning about this past Saturday and people coming into town, and as much as we've tried to communicate it, people still don't know that there's free parking on Saturdays. And you see people coming into town and still plugging the meters. Is that a big deal? It kind of is. Because people coming into town, I think, and you're looking for a meter spot, you're digging through your car for quarters, only to find out that you didn't need to. Or what about people who left not knowing, thinking, oh man, I don't have quarters, I'm not going to bother, I'll go somewhere else. We talked about how, was it last year when we decided to put bags over the meters, and we used those red bags, and people thought that meant, stop, don't park here, so then people didn't park in some of the spots. Was that communicating? It kind of is. You know, it's kind of the message that we're sending here. So, with all of this, what I wanted to have a discussion on this first part tonight is get input from all of you on what you've seen, what you've observed in terms of our communication, and going forward, what you see as some ways that we can improve how we do what we do. How do we ensure that we're communicating well? How do we ensure that the right message is getting to our residents or getting to the people we need to? Thoughts?
One thing I think that has improved is I said from the beginning of the year I wanted all boards and commissions to have their agendas on letterhead, because there for a while they weren't. Most of them weren't. They were all doing their own thing. Mm-hmm. We've gotten better consistency with that. I think that's great. The one thing that I've noticed and will probably be coming up next is the various logos and fonts and everything else. I'm a big font person, and when that's not all consistent, that just, I know it's a little thing, but when the various logos and you're not quite sure, is this Columbia, is it not Columbia, is it, what is this from? I think that is one thing that we can improve.
Could I jump back just for a minute to the free parking?
Mm-hmm.
We used to have a sign about leaf collection and different things that sat out at Short 6th Street and 462, somewhere in there. And it was like a message board, so to speak, like a trailer, I think, a little trailer with the board on it. Kind of caught people that were coming into town on 462. I mean, free parking could be put on there, free parking Saturdays. What about the electronic board out there? Couldn't it be advertised even on that, free parking Saturday? You know, I don't
At
think.
the,
Right, we already own
Chamber,
that, right?
yep.
I mean, why, or does the visitor center? I don't know actually who owns that sign, but I would think if we can take advantage of what we already have, that's not gonna cost us money to advertise, why not do it? Utilize what we can. I don't know where the trailer ever went. It was that little, kind of a little sign like, maybe it's like the one down at River Park.
It is currently sitting on South 8th Street.
yeah, the police have it. That's the police one. I think we had our own though too, don't we?
The one you're talking about, Sharon, was down at River Park.
Okay.
It's down at the Borough Shades right now.
Because they used to post like leaf collection ends thus and such a
Right.
day. And it was helpful, because you'd see that even for me, if I wasn't paying attention to what was going on, it was sort of just a reminder. But for some reason, it's not located there anymore anyway, so.
These are great ideas. I would even suggest, why not just put a sticker on the street side of every meter that says free parking on Saturdays? And you pull up the meter,
Yeah.
you know,
You don't want those two,
you know.
because you can't get them off. And they mess them up.
What about a magnet? Are they metallic?
They pull the pin off.
If you use a magnet.
There's something like that on the meters. We talked about that.
Years
Even,
ago, you can do this stuff, as Sharon said, relatively inexpensive. They used to just take brown paper bags, and someone printed the brown paper bags with a holiday theme, you know, some wreath or something like that, and then the words free parking. And the merchants put them out. The merchants did all this years ago. Our Merchants Association is starting to ramp up, and probably would be light years ahead if it wouldn't be for COVID. And I think that's what we need to do. They're the ones that ask for free parking. And so you come back to them, and I'm not trying to put the onus on them, but they ask for free parking. Yeah, you can have free parking. We would like you to mark the meters. Let us know how you want to do that. You know? And then on Saturday morning or Friday night, they can go out and they can put the bags on the meters before they open their store up.
that's a good idea.
That sign, Sharon, I'll tell you what, you know, I don't want to spend any money, but that's very cumbersome to change because it's the old one where you gotta get the letters and get the letters in a slot and all. Let me first take a look at buying an electronic sign for all the events that go on around here that you can program. You know, they're programmable, they're not all that expensive today. And you can put them, you can use that thing probably every day of the year for something.
And I'd like to see the TV out in the lobby get up and running and get that scrolling.
It's just powering off right now. We can't figure out why it runs through 2 cycles and shuts off. So we gotta,
One
let's
of
get
the
it figured out.
reasons that sign isn't up there anymore is several years ago, someone changed the sign around.
Yeah. And that's easy to
Another thing
do.
for the electronic sign.
Yeah.
They did it a couple times this summer down at the park too.
Yeah.
Interesting words you can make with those letters.
They're gonna be ideas.
One of the things that I had talked to Bill Cloyd about, when I first came on here, he and I took a drive around town, and he had gone after, and is willing to do it again, going after grant money to put up some marquee signs, I call them, at the major entranceways. So one on 3rd and coming into town, one on Lancaster Avenue, right there by Anvil or somewhere near there, and maybe one on Locust or Walnut or somewhere down there. that would just be a welcome to Columbia, a nice beautiful sign, and then below it would be one of those digital message boards that could scroll these messages through. And if we went after, DCED has grants, I think he was using CDBG funds or something for it as well. I think it's something to at least look into, and maybe we can't do all three, maybe we start with just getting 2 of them up and then having those messages out there. Coordinating with some of the digital message boards that we've recently approved or that exist in town already and say, hey, would you be willing to put messages up on your board to loop us through with some community messages? And I think this, honestly, starting by looking at what resources we currently have, what can we tap into? And this also plays into during a time of emergency. You know, if something ever happens here and we need to get a message out, everything we're building now is an advantage for us during a bad snowstorm, some other event, who knows what, and we need to get a message out to everybody. That's always important.
Yeah, you can see, for example, you can see the state's doing that now. You get on one of the highways.
Yeah, all the time.
And now they got these message boards every so often. And yesterday I was up in Medford, and going up 322, they had message boards talking about the inclement weather, slow down, this and that, on 30. So, yeah, it's becoming something that's quite popular, almost expected nowadays, that people know what's going on.
There's a tool out there that sounded really cool when it first came out, but then it screamed Big Brother, so everyone hated it. But you could actually put what they call a geofence around your city, and it's a communication line that when you cross over that line, your cell phone gets a message. Sounded like a really cool, neat idea. Some cities tried it, and everyone's like screaming, like, "What else are you tracking on?" And I get it. It's creepy to have all of a sudden you come into town, but the idea some cities are trying to use it as is you come into town and goes, "Hey, do you know there's free parking today?" You know, it would pop up on your phone. But that would be expensive.
Tracking you anyway, whatever.
Yeah, I don't need to put it in my face, you know.
Right.
When we get into the parking phase of our RACP money, one of the things we did talk about is what parking app we want to use. And those kind of messages, when you log on to the parking app, can come up, hey, are you aware that, today is free parking?
And, yeah, because I mean, that's the other big part of communication where I think we definitely need to do a much better job, and that is with our wayfinding and our signage and everything else. And I mean, we've already identified that as a need, and so.
You talk about logos and all. This is not the
I
approved
think that
borough logo.
Right.
when we approved free parking, was it to expire at the end of December?
Yes.
Yeah. But I think going forward, that's an example of what we want to be able to communicate when we do put it in place. How do we get the message out there so it does effectively attract people to town and help our businesses?
Well, I have no idea, and I hesitate to even say it out loud, because I have no idea what the cost would be. But there is a huge billboard coming into Columbia out by Burger King as you get off
Yeah.
of 30 and you come from Marietta or north into town. I mean, it's a regular big billboard. We could always put something on that, I guess, if we found out the price. I mean, welcome to Columbia, free parking Saturday during the month of December, whatever. It's been there for a long time, mostly just sales pitches, but, and like I said, I hesitate to bring it up because I do not know what that would cost a month to do that.
Sharon, you mean one from Lamar?
Yeah,
Okay.
the regular big one that sits
Yeah.
out there. I mean, as you're coming off of 30
Yeah, I know what you're talking
or
about.
down the hill from Marietta, it's right
It's
there.
down in the train yard.
It was around 1,500 a month,
Was it?
probably around 2,000 now.
That's what I was thinking, Howard, the last I heard, they're about 1,500 a month.
I know some of those billboard companies do give back to the communities and they will donate sometime now and then. I don't know if Lamar's one of them or that one would even be included, but it's worth an ask.
Well, here's another, the bus stops.
Mm.
Okay?
Mhm.
When the bus stops were put in, that was in a partnership with Lamar Advertising. And the deal was, Lamar would advertise on the side panels of, they would sell advertising on the side panels of the bus stops.
Mhm.
If they had any that weren't sold, the borough could use them for advertising.
Hmm.
I'm hazarding to say, if you go to the bus stops now, you'll see nothing on any of them. You know, kind of dropped off. But there's, the second largest bus stop in the south side, in this, Red Rose, I'll call it, but system is this one right here.
Mm.
That's a lot of free advertising on bus stops around Columbia.
But do we really want to put free parking Saturdays on the bus stop?
No, I mean, that's other things like your bridge bus
Yeah.
or, you know, the antique and craft show, those kind of things.
Yeah, upcoming events or,
Upcoming events.
Honestly,
You
next-
Put in an upcoming event calendar, just, as the event, you just move the next one up.
even now, if we wanted to promote free parking now through the end of the holiday season, you know, why not get that message out? And if it helps our businesses and it attracts more people downtown, then I think that may be worth looking into, you know? So if you have other ideas, to keep thinking about it, send them over to me. I want to kind of compile a list of all the things that we can do to improve how we communicate. And what I've put on this last slide here on this section is just some of the current policies we have. At your space in front of you, I gave you a copy of the Facebook policy that the borough adopted in March of 19. That really looked at how we use Facebook, who's in charge, what we do, and this came up. And Pam, if you want to jump in on this part, Pam and I had a conversation about not just the borough Facebook page, but because social media as a whole grouping is such a growing way of the methodology that people communicate. It's shocking how fast and how much people get their news from other than the traditional news methods now. I'll never forget when the one school shooting happened up in Connecticut. They said the biggest problem they had is all the parents heard about it before the police got there, because the students were Facebooking their family immediately, saying, "Hey, this is going on," and family members were showing up even before the police had secured the scene and knew what was going on. There was moms and dads rushing in to try to get kids out. That's how fast communication spreads and how important it is to manage the message and get it out there. So we do have a borough Facebook policy, but then Pam contacted me and said the Park and Rec Board, they want their own Facebook page so they can get their message out. And I wanted to talk about that tonight, how we want to manage and look at other boards and other committees and other ones having pages other than ours. The main one, because it is something that's important. Go ahead, Pam.
So Parks and Rec is in a unique situation in that we have to keep information in front of the public. And when we post on the borough site, our messages tend to get lost in the stream. You know, they just move down. And so it would be great if we could have a dedicated Parks and Rec page that would be administered by the borough, but would be just for Parks and Rec information events that we are sponsoring.
I don't understand this. But I'm not being perfect, but what do you mean it keeps getting on down?
Well, they put up like,
Well,
it moves everything down. They put up street sweeping and it moves hers down, so every time you put something new up, it pushes hers down off the list.
But why can't we use the pinned post, like right now it's pinned for the parking, you know, take that pinned post down and pin something for Parks and Rec when we need to.
Well, for example, we have a gingerbread house event this weekend, and we have needed, it was supposed to be in the market house, but now it's going to be moved to the borough, the windows in the front, and we need to get that information out. And I think it would be, in the future, good to have a dedicated spot for us to get that kind of information out quickly. Like movies, the movies have a Facebook presence. And, it just makes life easier. I think this is kind of a unique situation that other entities in the borough aren't faced with.
Do we have, I don't know what the rules are in regards to email or anything like that, but I know we have a subscription or an email list for emergencies. Do we have an email list that people can sign up to, subscribe to, just for borough information?
I think use that for that, any purpose.
For the emergency line?
Yes.
Well, they even use it? I don't even know if it works. I signed up for it. I never got
That
it.
email blast, I don't think, is that what you're referring to, that
Yeah.
email
Yeah.
blast? I don't know the last time I ever
Or
got
text,
one.
whatever it is.
Yeah, I thought it was for emergencies and whatnot, but,
But it can be for anything, it's just
A blast.
a blast.
why don't we use that? I think that's an excellent way to communicate. It never gets moved down the list.
Right.
People who want to hear from you will hear from you because they're subscribed to it.
You certainly know. It's my understanding that someone from the borough is going to be trained by the school district on that system. I don't know if it ever happened.
I think the school district's going to go on.
It did happen. We did get trained, but then the school system scrapped their old system that we got trained on and adopted a new one, and we haven't gotten trained on the new one yet.
You just have your own. You can use a MailChimp or Constant Contact or something really easy like that, and you can see who's opening the emails. You can see the effectiveness of your campaigns and
Yeah.
it's a marketing tool. And what you're trying to do is market the borough.
Right, and that's the whole thing tonight is all about marketing the borough.
I mean, we should definitely have our own system. We should not be dependent on the school district.
Yeah.
So we can look at, I know every website has a way to sign up for updates, and even when you update something on the website, you get a notification, or if you want to send a push out to everyone, you can do it that way. So we can look at adding that to our website, at least to get that line of communication open.
That's a tool
Yeah.
we use.
So the email blast, people can't respond to that. We need people to be able to ask questions, define details, that kind of thing.
So then you drive them to
Yeah,
you drive them to wherever you want to drive them
A
to.
link on the web page
Right.
or whatever that might be.
Yeah, for any questions, email, yada, yada, yada. You can get it.
So Pam,
So
are you guys,
is there a problem with setting up a Parks and Rec Facebook page? Is that not something that we want to do?
My concern with another Facebook page is the lack of control of responses and comments and what can happen that you can't control.
And keeping it consistent
But that's,
between the
but
two.
that's the same thing that we have to deal with our borough Facebook page.
That is true.
That's true, but now we're asking, whatever employee to monitor 2 pages and not just 1.
Monitor for what?
content?
Content. monitor for responses to
Inappropriate responses.
inappropriate responses or people asking questions, you know, on your post, because that's what you just said.
Deleted? Do inappropriate responses get deleted?
Or the,
Per the policy, yes,
Per
we
the
can.
policy, yes.
You have 2, then you're gonna have 3, then you're gonna have 4.
Mhm.
you
We
have,
tend to have a pretty involved group of people who, yeah, I don't know that that would be an issue. People who are interested in these events are mostly responding, and we have the Hen Festival coming up, and we need to disseminate information about that. Yeah, it would just be a lot easier, and yeah, someone can monitor it. It would just make our lives much easier in doing what we do.
the borough webpage has a Parks and Rec page.
Right.
Well,
Has what?
has a Park and Rec page on it, that you can go right to the Parks and Rec department. There's no,
Really?
yes, there's no information on there about the upcoming hemp festival, about the gingerbread house. There's, the committee members' names are on there, but there's no link that you can actually click on a committee member and email them a question. That to me,
Well, see, that was my question. Can we have as part of the borough page, Facebook page, can we have a section for Parks and Rec? And it sounds like there is one, but.
On the Facebook
I've never
page.
seen it.
no, not Facebook, this is
On
on
the-
the webpage,
On the website.
on the website.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I hesitate to throw all our eggs in the Facebook basket.
Mhm.
Yeah, I do too.
We want people driven to our website. We don't want them reliant on an outside thing. That, you know, we want the information to come from us.
That's where people look.
Right, we need to do a lot of education to get people to go to the website because people don't go on a website to find information. They
Well,
go on-
because for so long,
Right.
the website was,
Not just ours though, I
Right.
get Fran.
right,
I mean, I use Facebook more than I probably should for information.
Mhm.
But, yes, our website should be our driver for all our business and all our activities.
So how do we make people use it? How do we? make
Well,
it-
one thing I would like to see is I'd like to see an app. A borough app for the Facebook page that maybe it's just a calendar of events and stuff, so people can go on that app, quick look, they can send notifications.
I think a calendar is something we've been needing for a long time.
Right. I mean, there could be some basic stuff on that app. As far as, you know, it's connected to the webpage, so it could basically have everything. But, people today use their phones for a lot of information. And, I get text, I'll get notifications from different apps that I have saying this is today or that's today. You know, whether it's a sale, you know, Amazon's having a sale or whatever.
Mhm.
If we had something like that could set up an opening to communicate with people. Almost like your wire, your zone
That-
across
yeah.
into Columbia or whatever.
Yeah.
But, you know, and that app can also address the parking issues that we talked about with the parking. We tie the parking into that, the payment.
You saying a Columbia Borough app?
Yeah. It's
you do
basically
those?
the webpage, but
Todd,
the
you
webpage might
aware
have
of
more
those?
information.
Are you aware of those? Do you, as a
Of a
firm, do you guys use them?
Of a borough app?
No, I know some municipalities do have it, but
didn't
usually
know
bigger
that.
cities.
I didn't know that there were apps for specific municipalities. and
yeah, you
cities.
can, I mean, anyone can create an app.
Yeah, I know you can, but you gotta pay for it.
Well, yeah, I know.
So, I mean, you can create not to do anything.
Yep.
but I wasn't aware.
It doesn't have to be heavily interactive, it just has to be a one-sided feeding information to it. In other words, basically our calendar, special events, and like street sweeping, stuff like that. If there's an emergency, it can go on there, you know what I mean? 2 feet of snow and the mayor shuts down the borough.
You know, what you're saying, Eric, is absolutely true. I talked to a lot of people outside of Columbia, and a lot of visitors, like especially down the River Park. They go to the borough's website. People outside of Columbia are driven to the website because that's what they have become used to. We're in their world. Here, we're not doing that for our residents driving. So, and I agree with you. We need to drive that to the website. You know, I sat back for, oh my God, 19 years, and I heard council folk and administrations and myself talk about a website. And the website is crappy, and it needs to be redone, and this and that, you know? And 19 years we talked about the website, but we really didn't get there with it yet as far as I'm concerned. And part of that is creating an app to be able to drive people to it. People have to be more or less enticed to go there for information.
Well-
Right away, we want to try to create another layer of information and spread it out thinner when we should be going to one.
Right, and just like the gingerbread house, that notification comes up that, this week, December 5th through the 10th or whatever, it's going to be the showing of it. People get notifications, but that notification would drive you back to the website where it's going to have full detail.
That's not gonna, just because you have an app, just because you have an app doesn't mean people are gonna download it and use it. We don't have a website, they're not using it. We have email, they're not using it.
I totally get
So, I don't think an app is gonna solve the problem.
I totally get it. My thing is, an app is formatted for your phone, not your computer. Your website's formatted for your computer. I do not.
This is a responsive website.
It is. It
No, I understand that, but I don't get on my phone and look up websites unless I absolutely have to. I do it on my computer. So if I'm driving somewhere, I want quick information.
Could we possibly, when we're putting a note on Facebook for whatever, can we include a link to that same information on our website?
Yeah.
And more detail.
And more detail?
More details, see, go
It's a great
to,
idea.
Right, because then it you
pushes
know,
them back to,
Right, because there are a good number of people that don't have Facebook. And so, I mean, we don't want Facebook to be our main communication. We want the website. So let's force everyone on the website, because maybe then, I mean, like, because I would expect those posts that I see on Facebook about the gingerbread house thing, I would expect a link that went to our website that I could download the form, that I could, get more information and everything else. And like Eric said, there's nothing on our website about it.
Our next issue of the newsletter, the cover story needs to be all about the website. And it can't be put in the merchandiser either, because I never got it. I chucked those things. I don't know how many people chucked their merchandiser and didn't see the.
yeah, lesson learned. We thought it saved us money to get it out to everybody quick.
But make that first page article, the cover story, nothing about the website. Maybe take up 3 pages. Let's talk about how to use it, what you can find on it, why you would want to.
Is it possible to stream meetings on the website?
You can put links to, and that's why we have a YouTube channel now, you can put links to like a YouTube channel to then pull up the video, yeah. But to live stream them, that's a
Because I think
different,
That's a good tool to Facebook to see the meeting.
we can embed a link to do a Facebook or YouTube live on the website, couldn't we, Todd?
Yeah.
Yes. And in order to live stream to YouTube, you have to have 1,000 followers.
Mhm.
So we are going to have to do, if we want to start streaming on YouTube in combination with streaming to Facebook, if we want to dual stream, we're going to have to do a major push and get followers on YouTube to follow our channel.
You don't need 1,000 to be viewing at one time, you just need to have 1,000 followers.
You just have to have 1,000 followers, because if you don't have 1,000 followers, you can only post videos after the fact.
Right, which is what we're doing now.
Which is what we're doing now. But if you have 1,000 followers on your, 1,000 subscribers to your channel, you can live stream.
How many do we have anyway now?
Probably like 6.
6,000?
You know, have you looked?
Yeah, 6.
Well, I'll go and sign up, I'll be 7. How many numbers there?
But again, this is, I think just getting it out there that that even exists and then getting that link on the website is a great idea. Then we'll get the numbers up faster.
Yeah, I don't mind the idea of an app. The expense involved in an app is a concern. Don't know what that means, what that would entail. But when you have an app, you're just going to have the same problem you have now, which is getting people to find the app and use the app.
Mhm.
I would see what I could do with pushing what we already have, which is a website, using the tools that we already have, which are almost free. And you can track the website with analytics to see what's happening. I don't know if you guys are taking advantage of that at all.
Not yet.
Google Analytics on your website. I don't know if Revise included that capability. I have experts read that stuff. I don't know how to go through it. It's just too much information.
Yeah.
But you can certainly see how well your website's doing, when people are there, why they're there, where they're coming from, what pages they're active on, how long they're staying. I would certainly use what you have first. So promote the website whatever way you can. And then if that's not working, or if it does start catching on and an app makes sense, it'll be easy to push the app then,
Mhm.
right?
We have 3 subscribers.
It seems
Three.
to me we need to migrate from Facebook to the website.
Oh, 4.
Yes, thanks.
So everyone go to YouTube and subscribe to the Columbia Borough channel.
Hey, I mean, if that's a campaign we have to do,
Sure.
then we can make it an effort to get off of Facebook and go strictly to YouTube. And
I don't know if we want to lose our Facebook channel. I think Facebook is really important to a lot of people.
I think, yeah, and we have the ability now to do both. We can live stream our meetings. As soon as we get to the ability to have YouTube live, we have the ability with our equipment to dual stream right now, so.
I wonder how many people in our borough, it's certainly a certain demographic that is attracted and depends on Facebook. There's other demographics that are into TikTok and Instagram and
Right.
all those other things that old guys like me don't use. I wonder how important it would be for us to maybe engage on these different platforms to get other folks talking, listening, engaged, understanding. Maybe we're talking to some people, but we're not talking to everybody. And there's other everybody's will never hear us if we're not talking their language on media that they're using. That make sense?
It does, and that's, I'll just jump ahead slightly, but I want to get back to some of these other topics. One of the things that Heather and I talked about this morning briefly was the areas of leadership that we have here in the borough, and we assigned each one of you to take on a different committee, and to take responsibility. I think one of the areas of leadership, if you will, that I think was missed was communication. And I think that might be an important one to add to our current list so that we make communication a focus, not just an afterthought.
Could I ask a question about, I feel like we lost something with the chamber out there, they have the for rent sign on now out there, and I'm a member, but what happens now?
With the chamber, I think that the chamber is a 3-borough chamber, really.
Right, right.
It's involved in all 3 communities. They still exist. they're still functioning. I
But
think they're
people
on.
that would have normally stopped there for literature or things, that's a piece we're gonna miss now, right? Because they're not.
So, yes, but I have learned that probably double that number stop in at Columbia Crossing thinking that's where the information center is.
Okay.
And I know a lot of people go down there on a daily basis to pick up brochures and other information, and I think that has become our transpose information center.
Okay.
And I think we just need to get, if that's what's gonna happen, and I think that's a great idea, because we have a huge number of visitors out there, that should be our place we put all the information. Hope, if you're listening, you got more work.
Huh. Wonder if a little visitor center downtown here would make sense.
Could be.
That was discussed years ago.
Why have to get them down there and then push them up here? Just get them here and don't actually go down there.
One of the big problems was the Triborough issue.
For the chamber, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm talking about a visitor center, not a chamber of commerce. Just a,
But that's a Chamber of Commerce and Visitor Center for Three Boroughs.
oh, I thought it was a chamber of commerce for Three Boroughs and kind of like slash Columbia Visitor Center.
No,
Okay.
it was a visit center for all three, and it's just gonna be located over across the river in Wrightsville now.
When I look at the Parks and Rec page on the website, there's nothing that draws you in there.
No, it was just set up initially, I've been talking about this for a
Right.
long time.
So what
I need
Facebook
people
has
to
is
feed us.
pictures and, things that people want to, look for.
We
what they
need
wanna see.
those people who are over those different areas to get stuff in there so we can build these pages up. I mean, we've been saying this since we went live with the new website. I need the content to get on there. So I need all of us to say, hey, this is coming up, let's get this on the website, and we will make sure that it's visible. I like the idea of putting up a sign-up list so that when we make changes to the website, people get a notification, hey, a new thing's posted here. If you're interested, and a lot of websites had it, you can check your areas of interest. If you're interested in Parks and Rec and economic development, you could care less about potholes and other things, and you just check the ones you want to get notifications on.
That sounds good.
So these are all tools, again, that we have right now that I completely agree we're not fully utilizing, and we really need to put some time and energy into this. So one of the things that I asked Evan to be here tonight too is from his perspective on the legal side to talk about communication and how it can affect us. Evan?
Absolutely, yeah. So one thing in particular that isn't specifically addressed in the Sunshine Act is electronic communications. And so there have been a couple of cases, not a lot, but I just wanted to talk about some of that because that is it can become a big deal very quickly. If you are just engaged in passive communication, meaning like, for instance, when Teresa sends out the board packet to all of you on Friday afternoon, that, even though all of you are on that email, that doesn't violate the Sunshine Act, right? Because you are just getting information there. You're not engaging in any debate or anything like that. However, if you start any kind of email chain, group chat, whether it's text or in some other chat room is one example that was used in a case. I don't know how many people are using chat rooms really anymore, but that's out there as well. But if you engage in something that becomes nearly a real-time conversation over email, where four or more of you are involved in that conversation, that can very, very quickly morph into a violation of the Sunshine Act. So you need to be very careful when you do those types of things. It's very, very important. You are certainly able to discuss things with other council members, outside of the meeting. There's no prohibition against that. I don't want I don't want to scare you from doing that. Howard, if you see Sharon walking down the street and you decide to talk about something, that's not a problem. But when you start getting four or more of you in the same room or in the same area, and you start communicating, whether that's in person or electronically, those things can very, very quickly morph into violations of the Sunshine Act. So you've got to be very careful with those. We want to make sure that we avoid any of those kind of problems because, again, especially in email form or even on, for instance, on the Facebook page, right? That can be, I've seen it happen before where one council member will comment on a Facebook post and all of a sudden you've got 3 or, in some cases, depending on how many members are on council, 3 or 4 or even 2 more people commenting in this thread about something that's going on. And all of a sudden, you've got deliberation under the Sunshine Act that is occurring outside of a noticed meeting. So you've got to be very, very, very careful when you're engaging with, especially other council members, in electronic media. Those are heavily fact-specific cases. They look at each one individually. There's nothing in the Sunshine Act regarding electronic communication. My guess is at some point, given where we are as a society right now, that's going to get updated, right? I mean, email has become the primary form of communication for most people, or text. So that law is going to have to be updated at some point. But I just wanted to make you aware that as you're communicating with your other council members, just to be aware of that if it becomes an active conversation in electronic media where at least 4 of you are involved, that can become an issue under the Sunshine Act. So just, again, be aware of that and be careful with that as well, because we don't want to have any of those violations.
So would you say that, I know some of us do this, but some others don't. It's probably best that no matter how many, unless you're sending it to just one other counselor, if you're including more than one, they should be BCC'd, so no one can respond to everyone.
And that's why I do that all the time when I write to all of you. I know sometimes it gets annoying, but I'll just say you're blind copying on everything, so no one can accidentally hit respond because, oh, that reminds me, I wanted to ask about this too. Then suddenly the message that goes back and forth, and in an innocent action, you guys are having a discussion over email over something that then may come back before this board.
Yeah. Reply all is a very, very
Scary.
Scary thing in this kind of context. Again, I don't want to scare you, but it's just something to be aware of, that as you're thinking about it and communicating with other people, that just be careful of.
I would think that would really happen rather quickly on Facebook.
Mm-hmm. It does. I've seen it.
Absolutely. You're on a thread and you start chatting, and someone throws out a comment about something unrelated to necessarily the chat thread, and someone else jumps in on it and says, "Oh yeah, I wanted to bring that up Tuesday night," and someone else jumps in and goes, "Yeah, it's a good thing, we need to talk about it," and then here's my opinion on it, and now you instantly have 4 elected officials on the same thread chatting about something.
That's what I would kick back to the council. Just drive this Facebook.
And it happens.
This website. Drive this website. Let me ask you a question. I'm not smart at first around when it comes to this. Matter of fact, I'm very dumb when it comes to this. How comes if I go on some business's website, okay, and I look at something, I look at an item, and within an hour later, I'm getting an email about buying that item. Okay, so apparently they see what I am looking at, and they're responding back to me.
Yes, cookies.
Okay, if someone
Disable
goes
your
into the
cookies.
borough website and, okay, what would happen? If someone goes into the borough website and looks at something, is there a way that it can be back, hey, do you want to, are you interested in the hemp festival or whatever?
Well, that would be cookies, and that, we would have to put notices up that the website uses cookies, and I don't know if Revise is.
Like I say, I don't know anything about it, but I know that there's so much that can be done electronically with websites today,
Oh, yeah.
that's what we should be looking at.
Those are pay-to-play services.
Okay.
For sure.
Yeah, I figured they don't do that stuff for fun.
No.
No, but I know that those availabilities are there that we should be looking at, what can be done. I believe, as you said, Todd, I know the school does this, and I believe the Susquehanna Heritage is, they are breaking down it. I think we saw that in their annual report. Who is going on their website, where they're from, areas in the country, and things like that. So those tools are available to us, but I've never seen us use them. And dependent upon that, that's how you need to either target more a demographic that you're not seeing using it, and then drive more home also to those that you are seeing. If you see a lot of people from outside Columbia using something, and you want to make sure that you put information on there for them to look at events to bring them in. If there's leaf sweeping and things like that being put on there, you don't see anybody responding locally, you gotta drive it. Say, okay, we got a void here, we gotta drive this in. I agree with you, there's educational tools involved in this that we're not using.
Yeah, like, just for an example, I think like all of us here, I pulled up the Columbia website, and right on the current section, the local news and articles, the very first one, Pam, is the gingerbread house entry form. But it says, gingerbread house at the market house, click for entry form. And everything on there still indicates it's at the market house. So, that's an example of the inconsistent, it got.
But there's been an updated announcement since then.
Well, right, I know, but that's what I'm saying, Pam, is the updated announcement when those things happen, it should include a link back to the website, and the website should have been the first thing updated, not Facebook. That's how it should happen. That's how we need to drive that.
But we just determined that people don't look at websites.
But we're talking that we want to drive them to the website, so we have less places that we have to keep straight.
When you got two different dates on two different sites, that's going to get people mad. And you look dumb.
Exactly.
What?
So it has to be put on the website first.
Being consistent is everything.
It should, yeah.
And if it's on Facebook, it links to.
What about
That's exactly right.
That's how it
PR
should
firm,
be.
Gavin, or what, that we retained?
I mean,
What would they
everything
do?
on
What would they suggest?
Facebook, every post on Facebook should have a corresponding
You know what I mean?
post on the website.
And they don't right now.
And they do.
Yeah, every post should have a link that goes right to the website, to something on the website, even if it's
With
the
more
homepage.
information.
So Howard just brought up a good point.
Well, this is new information we're getting tonight, right?
Yep.
Because have people been doing this?
No.
Well, in sense of doing this, people are getting frustrated when they go to someplace, see information, they go to the website and it's different. People do get frustrated with that. And one of the things that Howard just asked is the firm that we brought on to help us with communication, Gavin, do they do this? And this is absolutely one of the things that they do, is help municipalities, help other agencies with. They do communications across the board, and that was one of the first conversations I had with them, was they said, do you have a website? Do you want us to help you look at that? Do you have a social media presence? We can help you with that. So these are all the things that we looked at in getting ready to talk about just communications as a whole. So that is something that they do, and could help us with, is look at our website, look at how we can improve it, could adding widgets and tools to it to improve the functionality of it. Absolutely.
But I agree with the mayor. If you had too many things on there and it's different on the borough website and different on the Facebook or whatever, right away, there we are. We're back to where we were before. Inconsistent, misinformation being put out. And that's the last thing you want to do. We're trying to correct that, right? So you narrow it down to one particular place to go to, which would be the I mean, we spend a lot of money for the borough website.
Mhm.
Let's get them to go to it. But like I said, Gavin would be an excellent professionals that know how we could get people to be driven to the website.
Absolutely.
Yeah, even if you hired them to give us some kind of strategy, just to analyze it, evaluate it, and give us a strategy on how to do it. And having them administer it or administrate it and would be something else, but manage it. But I think getting a really good professional look at somebody who's a specialist in municipalities. I mean, we do marketing, but we're kind of like really good at construction and healthcare. Those are
Right.
kind of our verticals.
Right.
Rural municipalities is a totally different animal. They're good at that. I would.
And this
think
is
it's
one of
a good
their
idea.
specialties. They work with government agencies to do this, so. Okay, we can look at that.
Yeah, I mean, as an example, the company I work for, you know, I follow them on all the social media platforms. Every post they put out there is a link back to their website. And every one of those is paired with an email to all of the associates to drive us to go out there to see it, to drive back to the website. I mean, it all has to be linked. And like Howard said, we're going to end up, if we scrap the website we paid so much money for, and we don't keep that up, we're back to where we were at the beginning when no one wanted to use the website because it wasn't kept up. We have the ability now to easily update the website, which we didn't before. So we need to be using it to be consistent and to be effective. And splintering off into, you know, a bunch of different Facebook pages is not the way to bring us back together.
Do we
At
have
least
a-
I don't think so.
The website has a blog element to it. Is that right?
You can add that. You can have that as part of it. I
Shoot,
don't.
right there's where we should be putting
Yep.
these current events and sending them out and
And can
via
we,
email.
does it have the ability to do like an RSS feed?
Yes, I think we can add all that
So
to it.
there it is.
All the pieces are there.
Yeah, we
We
just gotta
need
get.
to use it.
Yeah.
And if Gavin can tell us how to do it, I mean, none of those things are all that difficult to maintain. It's just getting someone to know how to do it, you know, boom.
And we've talked about the need to have 2 or 3 staff people here trained how to do it, so it's not all falling on one person, because there are communities our size and bigger that have a full-time staff person to do nothing but manage communication now. It's become that important.
See Teresa back there sweating. She's like shooting daggers. She's like, Heather, or you just want to stop now?
I'm desperate now.
But it is important. My daughter works for TerraCycle, that recycling firm, and they have like 3 or 4 people that do nothing all day but post on social media and websites and get stuff out there, keeping things fresh, keeping things on top of the things, constantly pushing out messages. Businesses have learned how to do this. Government hasn't quite got there yet, and this is where I think in today's world, as we're rebranding, going into the next phase, what we're talking about here is we're kind of reshaping who we are. Let's not lose the tools that we need to do this. Oh, a nice segue. Thanks, guys.
I think it'd be interesting to ask Gavin if they would think that the workload would be enough to, do we consider bringing on somebody part-time or half-time or something?
Or do you just, in today's world, they don't have to live here.
That's absolutely true.
All they need to do is you need to be able to get stuff to them and they can post it whenever. I know people who do website design and then like half their clients are in California, some up in Washington, some in Michigan and do this, and they're based here in Pennsylvania. That's today's world.
I was working with a vendor today. I was on a call with a vendor, and there were people on the call with me literally stretching from California to Pennsylvania. I mean, we were, you know, and half of us were in one company and half were in the other, but we were all still all spread over, and, you know, it's just the way it is.
So let's go to the next segment that I wanted to get into tonight and just talk about, start the conversation about rebranding and looking at the branding and logos for Columbia. So I always like starting with this: who are we? What is it that makes us up? And I love the thought of looking at us as a town, a community, a city as a living organism. And there's been a lot of articles written about, what is your city's DNA? What makes it tick? What makes us who we are? What makes us unique? What makes us special? And what is it that we want to promote that's going to drive people here to Columbia? And what is that DNA? What is it made of? I think a big part of it is our historic character of this town. I think that's extremely important for who we are. I think our architecture is important. I think our people are important. I think our history is important. And I think our today, who we are today is important, and I think it's important of who we want to be and who we're changing into. I think all of that packaged together forms the image that we're trying to create for this town. And we have so much here already that we don't have to start from scratch. We're not recreating. You think about the Pittsburghs of the world, the Bethlehems that were a one-shop town that were thriving under the steel industry. And then when the steel industry crumbled, they had to redefine themselves and find out who they are again and rebuild it. Naples, Florida, if you've ever been down on the west coast of Florida, much better than the east coast, sorry. Naples went through a major transition where they were trying to redefine who they are. And they decided to put a couple restaurants in along this one street, and now it's Restaurant Row. Delray Beach, which Pam knows well, you go east of Swinton Avenue, it was a drug den, ghost town, a place you wouldn't want to be. 20 years ago, they decided we don't want to be that scary place, that's the drug den capital of South Florida. We want to redefine ourselves differently. You drive down Atlantic Avenue now in that town, Pam, you've been down there. What's it look like now? We lost her.
It's a beautiful, thriving, busy place.
They widened the sidewalks, they shortened the road, they put cafes out, they put tables out there, there's high-end shops, they're close to you get to the ocean. You look at it now, you'd never know what it was years ago. Baltimore, Inner Harbor, when they redeveloped that whole area around there. So all these things have happened in both small communities and large cities. So what do we want to see happen here over the next 10 years? What do we want to see change and morph? And what do we want to see not change? That has to be part of the equation as well. What do we want to hold on to and keep that we see as a value for us?
Well, could I interrupt?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One time, Mayor, you said the future of Columbia lies in its past. And I really did always agree with that statement because I think the history that we have with just simply the burning of the bridge and so forth, we should be capitalizing more on our history, I think, because that there's people that are attracted to a community just because of history. They want to see what has happened and be there. And I think we kind of sometimes have left the ball drop on that because I think that's something that we really should try to preserve.
I agree. I think there's some amazing things in our history that we want to bring out and look at.
I think we're all so close to it that we kind of forget about it, It's not fresh to us. We see the bridge every day. We see the pylons with no bridge on it, and we see the architecture every day. That stuff really is attractive, right, Sharon, to outsiders, to people who are looking for something.
And we have a historic society that has a wealth of history down there that I don't think people really take advantage of enough. I
Right.
think that should be boosted up a little because that would be a draw as well.
And marrying that with what we have today, the River Trail. Absolutely amazing gift, the Turkey Hill experience. That's not new anymore, but brings a lot of people to this town. So what else? I mean, what else can we do to keep driving things in, to bring in more of who we are? The one thing that I have not been able to shake since I got here is I just feel like there's a place for local music here, local artists to either find their way up and out of here or thrive here, staying right here. I think that's a niche culture that is very prevalent here. That maybe is something that we can build on to. You know, maybe when we get phase 3 going and get the amphitheater down there, really promoting, you know, live music Saturdays and come on down in and enjoy that and encourage young artists to grow and thrive and build. You know, I wouldn't hate it if we became a food capital, of unique food styles here. Be fantastic. And often the ones of this type grow organically, not by a forced thing, by trying to bring something in that doesn't belong here, but figuring out what is already here and just strengthening it, building up on what is here. So as I say, what is our DNA? Who are we? What do we need to pull out and strengthen in the character of who we are? And not change us, not make us into a whole different town, but pull out the good of who we are and make it better. Does that make sense? Truly strengthen who we are. So I'm getting into Todd's world, and I'm going to embarrass myself in going through all this, but talking about branding and what is branding, to me, it really is a visual representation of who we are. And Mayor held up that logo that's on the top of our letterhead. I've been doing a lot of research since I got here of how we got to that logo. And I kind of get it because it was part of the 3 river towns coming together to have some common branding to say, hey, when you come to Columbia, Wrightsville, and Marietta, there's a similar feel. But I'm not sure that idea fully took off. And I know that if you go you go to Marietta and you go to Wrightsville, you don't see this brand everywhere necessarily. You still see their city seal, their town seal, their logos are still prevalent. So, did a little research. Let me just jump ahead to this. This is us. Which one? I'm not really sure. The upper left is with the Borough of Columbia with the scroll around it. That is the old logo that we use. The one in the middle, the Columbia Police, you see that on the side of all of our vehicles. It says Public Works or Code now, but we use that symbol on our vehicles. The Historic Columbia Cops, the one we just talked about, Welcome to Columbia Borough, home of the Crimson Tide, is something that we've used in the past. The Columbia Historic Market House is one of the only branded logos that we have, and then we have the seals back there that we actually had trademarked as a trademark logo. The Merchants Association of Columbia, they pulled that Columbia font off the art from that building down there, Don Murphy's building. Then this summer we looked at the circle seals that people liked of the bridge, and the one on the far right there is another one that the same graphics company that did the center circle gave us. Here's another idea for you. So those came out of the Columbia Crossings and the bucket list challenge this summer. All of them kind of have their strengths, all of them kind of have a cool thing, but the problem is, which one is us? Is any of these us, or all these us, or none of these us? So what I would like to start looking at is it time now to come up with a new brand that includes colors, fonts, logos that we can start to use that would be a consistent look for our wayfinding signs, our letterhead, our website, keep going, Facebook pages, all of that. I think it's important that whatever we do, all of them come together in a consistent, not locked down consistent, but so that the themes are across the board, all look similar, and And when you look at it, you go, oh yeah, that's Columbia. And I think now is the time for us to do that, as we are in a period where we are growing and things are changing and we are making a positive impact in this area. Let's take this time now and define who we are. Thoughts?
It'd be really hard to get these other organizations to adopt anything that the borough would decide to do as a brand for, you know, the municipality, the Columbia Market House, the Merchants Association.
Sure, and I put those on there not because they're all truly Columbia Borough government, but they're all things that people see when they think of the borough.
We wouldn't have their buy-in if we move forward with it.
Well, possibly, or we just simply redo it. Like you come down Third, you see that big sign that says Historic Downtown Columbia. It's beautiful,
Jerry Musser.
but it's not, if that was truly the logo and the font that we were using for all of our signs, then it would all tie together. I love the bridge in the middle that we use on the stickers, the vinyl stickers this summer. But it really it isn't our brand per se, it was just a fun one-off for this summer.
I agree, we need to get consistent. I've said that for a while now, that we need to be consistent across the board. I mean,
I've never understood the colors, the green and the orange and.
I've never understood that either.
Those.
I never understood the italic.
You don't know my question. Why
I don't know where that came from.
I know the company that did
I
it.
would say.
They're the
I
ones that
remember
did it.
when.
Do you?
Well, I remember back when they selected those.
You can tell me offline, because I'm
Yeah.
curious to know.
Probably the sign of the streets.
I know.
Oh.
The open signs all use this branding, if
The
you
old
will.
Columbia Merchants Association.
I would say this. We're talking about getting signs for our entry points. We're talking about logo signs here. When you come up with a logo, to me, like the Merchants Association, the one with, actually one on the building. Yeah. That Columbia in black lettering, to me, just speaks elegance. It speaks historic. To me, it's the direction that I would like to see Columbia go. It's history, but yet it's clean. It's a statement. It's not like the Columbia on the middle or the far right. They're just words. Secondly, with our signs, even if you want with black, you could always use a background behind it that would only make it pop.
Mhm.
I like black because I think printing wise, it eliminates all your options. It's just black and white. It makes it clean and easy to print. I'm not a big fan of pictures inside of stuff. For a municipal logo, yes, our bridge is historic. Our bridge means a lot to us. There's a gazillion pictures on Facebook of our bridge, but I don't want to be known for just a bridge.
Right.
Historic district, we talked about having different zones, basically, or areas.
Neighborhoods, yeah.
Well, the Columbia is nice and can be in any part of the area, any downtown area or anywhere. But then there might be a historic district, there might be a residential district, you know,
Business district.
business district. So, you know, I'm not a logo guy, so I'm just saying what appeals to me. I just like it clean and I'm not a big fan of colors, not a big fan of different marquees in there.
Well, the colors, going back to what you were saying about the color of the flags and things we currently have, the open banners and all, there was a project a few years back that was called Bags and Flags or something like that, and I think they worked in conjunction with the chamber on that. And the colors of those flags they're just not really very visible. They blend in somewhat with the buildings.
Very earthy tone.
The open flags.
Mhm.
They just, some of the facades and all, they just blend in. You can't even hardly tell they're there.
Mhm.
And another frustrating thing with those is often they're left up when they're not even open.
Right.
They don't take them down, they just leave them there. Some businesses have, and it's like you're looking, they're not open, no. I just think the colors have to be different than what they are now. The idea of having the consistency was good,
Mhm.
have them all the same, but they just, somehow they get lost in the facade, I think.
Right, I agree.
But, I mean, I think if we, as the borough leadership set the tone that this is our borough brand, then, you know, whatever the Merchants Association or the Chamber is gonna do is what they're going to do. That's not on us. I mean, hanging the flags out there, yes, it's reflective of the borough, but that's the businesses. They're doing their thing. We just have to make sure we're consistent, and it will set the tone that we want consistency.
I think we contributed money to that though at the time.
Sure, I
So
believe
it
it
was,
is, sure.
it was,
Yeah.
And I have always been kind of drawn to this one because to me, it kind of ties some of the conversation we've had tonight together, and it screams in my mind historic, you know, the quality of the town. I think there are some neat things that are historic here, the railroad and how integrated that was in our community, the bridges are here. I just think if we want to engage a professional company, and again, we have Gavin under contract already, we can expand their contract and have them look at even a branding scheme for us. They've already dug into our history and time. If you guys are open, I can have that conversation with them and see if they could help us out with that too. And just bring this all together as to a new look and a new feel for the town, and then start marking it out. It's not free though. I'm not trying to spend extra money we don't have, but I think it's could be money well spent, wisely put, if we use it in a good way and roll it out appropriately. I think we can do some good work with this.
What's your timeline on getting what budget? Is it going to be a 2021 budget?
I would say 2021, for sure. And we can talk to them now, get an idea, get a proposal, get some cost estimates of what it's going to cost, so we know what we're looking at. And
Mark, can you go back to the previous slide?
yeah,
One up there in the corner of Borough and Columbia.
mhm.
There was a lot of research done on these logos and letterheads. And that one there came out of, that's the original that came out of the reincorporation of Columbia. What was it, 1826 or something like
Yeah,
that?
1888, 1866, I think it is.
Yeah, 86. That's where that came from. And going back to some of the discussion, back then, they didn't use pictures because of the bridge and this and that, because that was an official business letterhead. And that's what was adopted. And then, okay, then those other ones, that's what we used, but then when the committees, we started meeting with the committees, and the committees started putting different letterheads on their agendas.
Mm-hmm.
And this happened to be one of them. And next thing I know, that evolved into the borough letterhead. And that was one that was voted on, that was never voted on. And that was started on, I think, community development letterhead or something. But that evolved. But that's the old Columbia Merchants
Okay.
letterhead. And that evolved onto our letterhead paper. So I agree with you. I don't care what you use, but it has to be consistent. And I do like the idea of it being business-like without pictures. I like that one up on the building. Like I say, that one was in, up the other corner is the only official voted on letterhead, Columbia Borough.
Okay,
But if you want to change it, that's all well and good. My 2 cents is, don't put no pictures on. And I do like that.
You mean just the typeface?
Yeah.
so maybe going back to something simple like that, we can,
I like it.
okay.
What is it? I can't read something. It does say Columbia, Pennsylvania, doesn't it?
Yes.
And then the 1826, yeah, I see
Yeah.
that. But it wouldn't be historic downtown. It'd be
No.
No,
historic.
just the idea that
I like the words historic.
I like historic Columbia,
Yeah.
not drop downtown, and then it can be morphed into other,
Yeah.
a good logo design can then be reused in different formats, and it still keeps that same theme and same look.
Really, the Borough of Columbia, should that not be the name on the letterhead? I mean, you're
Yeah.
talking about something, not that's, not a tourism logo, it's not, it's.
It's the official thing, so there's something official should say Borough of, like City of York, City of Lancaster.
Borough of Columbia.
I really like that original one.
The
one
scroll?
with Swirlies. It looks really old fashioned,
It's probably-
for sure, but there's also something really beautiful about it and kind of whimsical, kind of fun a little bit.
And maybe that with the new
Watery,
font, you know?
maybe.
Put the other
And
font on that
Could
one.
it,
Well.
could it be modified to be a little bit more modern?
Yeah,
It
I
needs
think
a
it
different
has
font.
really awesome feel to it. And you know, I think the best logos, the best rebrands are not the ones that completely change the brand,
right,
the logo, but ones that
Fresh.
kind of evolve
Yep.
from something that always tell a story. I think maybe an evolution of this to something a bit more modern, a little bit more progressive, moving forward. We are moving forward. I think it needs to be a little bit forward thinking as well, but yet have a backstory. A great brand always has a story to tell.
Mhm.
Um,
I like it.
Yeah, I think that's a really great starting point. That's my opinion.
Mhm.
I go with what you're saying, but it seems to me like incorporated 1814, 1866 would be in there somewhere.
A good logo, now see, Mark, I define logos and brands as two different things. A logo is the identity piece of, that says who you are. It's your icon, it's your logo. It's a little graphic that says who you are. Your brand, in my opinion, and how I kind of approach it is, your brand is that entire experience of what you do, what other people, in fact, this is what a brand really is. A brand is simply what other people think about you. It's the perception other people have of you. That's your brand, and you really can't even really control that. You can control what you put out there to try to sway somebody's perception. That's why it's so important to be real constantly.
That's why I like that first sentence when I pulled out there.
You're probably getting way too deep.
No, but that's why I like that first sentence I found in researching this. The brand is more than just a logo. It's the name, it's the logo, it's the visual appeal, and it is the perception.
That's right.
All of that make up the branding. And I think we have, from the beginning of this whole night, that's what I'm talking about communication. I think our branding, our logos is part of our communication overall. And I want to make sure that we're controlling the message of who we are as a town. We're driving that message. Because we have some negative nicknames and negative names out there, what people call Columbia, and I want to reverse that and change it and keep pulling out the good of who we are. So I mean, I'm good. I will do some work on this, and we'll get some concepts back, and we'll start looking at them. I'll get some quotes, and we'll see what's going to take to begin this process. I think it's a good way to go. All right. Thank you, guys.
I wouldn't hesitate to maybe talk to Jerry Musser. Jerry Musser is one of the most gifted graphic designers I know.
Can you send me his contact info?
Sure. He lives right next to Sharon. He's really incredible.
Okay.
World class.
I would actually recommend him as well.
Yeah, just good luck to reach out to him. It'd be great. I mean, have somebody who lives here in town and invested already, and it would be great. Back to you, Heather.
Are we reviewing the 2021 meeting calendar?
We'll be in a second. So we want to get this out and posted. I don't know how you guys have done it in the past. If you have been involved in looking this over and blessing it before we send it out, or if not, we'll get this out and on our website and other places. But those are currently the meeting schedules. The only one that I think we're going to be adding on there is I met with Jessica Fieldhouse today, and we talked about for 2021 having a standing meeting time for the ad hoc committee that's going to be overseeing the development of the comprehensive plan. So I think we're going to look at a date, either like a second or third Monday or something like that of the month, to get that on the calendar as well. So that might be an addition, and if we have other things we need to add on here, fine. But if anyone sees anything, you see any corrections or changes to this, please let me know. Then once we get it.
To all the other groups listed on here, typically that's what they did. Like, for example, administration would do the calendar that we just did, but then send it to everyone and say, does this work for you?
Yeah. And of course, we have to advertise the meetings as well when we get to that.
The joint borough school board meeting, tentative 5th Tuesday in April, there is
Yeah, I was wondering.
Oh, okay. I think that was a carryover from the current one.
Yeah, there's no fifth.
And that's something that we have to talk about if we can get those going again. We didn't do it this year since I've been here.
We have done it for a while, and one of the reasons the comments come out of council and school board was, and this wasn't what was intended. School board would tell you everything they're doing that you already knew, and council would tell school board everything they were doing that they already knew, rather than getting heads together and saying,
Solving other issues.
what can we do collectively to solve some of these issues in the world? And it never materialized. And that's what should be done. I'm 100% for it. And I know I talked to several school board members, and I think Lauren, who was here, mentioned that. I think it's needed. Once or twice a year.
Yep, I agree with you.
There's a budget meeting here, but there's no budget meetings.
Yeah, we haven't set, well, we'll get with Kyle and get that schedule in, get that set for next year.
And speaking of budget meetings, we didn't have a third quarter review.
We did it on that one, we added it in under, was it a workshop or something? We put it in because we thought, oh, we don't have a whole lot, but we can.
We skip that Thursday meeting.
Yeah, but we didn't do the review, we just looked at the new budget.
Okay.
Um,
The budget or the current budget of 2020 third quarter? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we didn't look at the third quarter 2020.
Okay.
And that's usually the last one to do the, and here we are at the end now.
I thought we did go over that. I talked about it. I thought we did go over that once. So this is not an action item tonight, just to look at it. If you want to take some time at home or whatever and look at it and get back to me, we'll get the rest of the dates filled in there and get those other corrections on. Okay. That's it, that's all I have. There you
go. Council members, since Todd's indisposed, we'll start at this side of the table tonight. Howard, anything?
I would like to ask if we're going to get to see the revised or the agreement with CHI, because I have the one before from earlier, and I'm wondering, will we get to see, weren't you going over some stuff with them and all? Will that be a whole new agreement? Because this one was signed by Rebecca Denlinger, I guess, and I'm wondering, will you be signing the new one then? And
So we are gonna update the signature pages. We didn't, in the end, change a whole lot.
Yeah, it's really kind of, we were able to work through some of that stuff with them and get to an understanding, I think, on some of that stuff. We have been, mostly what we've been doing is focusing on the two agreements, one for
The restaurant.
the restaurant, one for the vendors, to make sure those are right. There were some issues with that original CHI agreement. We had kind of, we'll follow up with that. We kind of left that ball in their court, specifically regarding property taxes. So we actually do probably should follow up with them on that, see if they've come to a, how they want to handle that. Because that was the biggest, by far the biggest issue in that agreement, was that no one ever contemplated that property taxes, that building over there may be taxed, at the normal rate, because even though the borough owns it, it's not being used for a charitable purpose. So that's one thing that we definitely need to work out, so.
Yeah, but we will bring it back once we get it all cleaned up and changed, because then I would feel better having you guys authorize me to sign the new revised one so we can get it.
there was a few sticking issues before, because I had asked early in the year to meet, and I was able to meet with Phil Garopoulos and Kelsey and ask some questions at the time, and I just wondered if those small issues were getting kind of ironed out.
Yeah, we had a meeting with them. May?
Yeah.
Was it that early, or was it maybe a little later than that, actually?
The first one we had, the first sit down was in June or July, I think it was.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, it all kind of
I know.
together. But yeah, we were able to work out most of those smaller issues with them, especially regarding things like the security system and those sorts of things. So we were able to, that was just one that stuck out in my mind, but those kind of issues we were able to generally work out with them. Yeah.
I think there's a few more of them, though, that we still have to kind of talk through. Some of them still dealing with building security and some of the other training out there, so.
Okay.
Because there were certain things the borough was responsible for and all, and they were just like,
Correct, and some of those are a little vague,
yeah.
and we want to tighten those up.
Yep.
Okay, because I guess I met with them before you were ever even here, Mark. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's been a while. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Anything else?
No, I'm sorry.
Eric? I have a couple of things. First of all, I just want to say, in case anyone didn't notice, Small Business Saturday, I believe I can say, was a huge success here in town. Parking was hard to find, and there were people all up and down the street. It was wonderful.
Winter Street was full.
It was. It was definitely a good day. And as Mark mentioned, as we're coming to the end of the year, one of the things I would like everyone to start thinking about, I know that this January isn't technically a formal reorganization year, but we all have our area leadership. If I'd like everyone to think about if anyone wanted to swap up, switch their switch their roles. Likewise, we all have sort of liaison or membership with different boards or commissions or committees. I'd like everyone to think about if there's something else you don't want to do anymore, or you wanted to pass off, you wanted to switch things up. You had a different interest or something, so that we can have that all worked out before January. I have these, if anyone, just so pass it down so you're aware, just for reference. If there's anything that, you just let me know. We can work that out. And that goes along with the whole communication and everything else. Let's get ourselves buttoned up. I think that was it. I don't know, I'm having a really hard time tonight. For some reason, I'm really struggling.
So I think that's it. The only announcement that I had is we have, as we talked about at the last meeting, we have gone into the new lobby hours here. One, just to reduce contact with the public with COVID growing the way it is. So we are currently, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, the lobby is open from 8 to, is it 1, Teresa? 8 to 1. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays is open from 12 to 4. So that there's morning slots and afternoon slots, so if one of those works better for somebody else, they can still get in here and get into the office. So that started yesterday, so those are the new hours that we discussed at the last meeting, that we put those in place now.
Upcoming meetings, the land bank is on here. However, we received an email this afternoon that is canceled for this month, and she will be sending out her usual update, Michaela will. Zoning hearing board is scheduled for tomorrow evening. There is a budget meeting on Thursday. Just so everyone is aware, I think there are other items that we may be looking at briefly, because since it is a voting meeting, there may be some other items, and off the top of my head, I can't remember. I'm really struggling tonight, I'm sorry. Also in the packet is the approved minutes for the October HARB meeting, which we were all there.
Will we be having a meeting with, being the HARB this month in December? Do we have applicants?
I don't think there's anything right now for HARB in
Okay.
December.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Is there one now? Yes.
So I guess we'll see as it gets closer to the date. Announcement of next meeting. At 7 p.m. on December 3rd, 2020, council will hold a budget meeting. At 6:30 p.m. on December 8th, council will hold an information session to receive information from its borough manager and solicitor prior to the regularly scheduled meeting at 7 p.m. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Lindner, a second by Councilperson Stevens, to adjourn the meeting at 8:49 p.m. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, that's a wrap, folks.
What do you do?